What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Blazers Uprise post-game show. The Blazers lose on the road once again by a score of 117 to 109 against the Clippers tonight. This is their fifth road loss, if I recall correctly, fifth road loss on the season. And this continues the trend of the Portland Trail Blazers being a dominant team at home and a dud team on the road. They've struggled away from Moda Center, and it's been for all the same reasons. We'll touch on them once again tonight, and we'll go over this game. Eric, how's your night going, man? How are you feeling about this game? Is this like the other road losses, or does this one suck even more, or is it easier to handle considering the Blazers were actually competitive in this game in LA?
I wouldn't say it makes it easier to handle. I just say this one was actually more frustrating because throughout the course of the game, we had stretches that showed just how good we could be when playing a certain way. And then we also had stretches of just how bad we could be when we don't do any of those things, if that makes sense. So it's just frustrating to me that we let possibly a winnable game get away from us just by some really, I don't know what the right word is, not boneheaded or dumb, but just like inexcusable lapses in focus and effort at times, and it's starting to really annoy me.
Yeah, it's frustrating, man, because this, I'll paint this picture. There's a debate between how capable this team is of being good enough to contend in the playoffs, right? And I think this season has shown both what they're capable of as well as things that they really struggle with. And this team is just so night and day, home and road, that it's not an argument about capability for me, because we've seen this team is extremely capable at home. They've looked like an elite team at home. The problem is they are a completely different team on the road. So if we're talking about what this team is capable of, I mean, they're capable of a lot as long as they got the crowd on their side, as long as they're in Portland. So basically it just puts us in a position where we just want to see that team in Portland play on the road. But we don't see that same team, and it's a mental block for this team right now. It's a mental block mainly on the defensive end, because during that second half, especially during the fourth quarter, the Clippers got pretty much whatever shot they want. They had 34 points in that fourth quarter. It's pretty hard to come from behind and win. Even though the Blazers were close, it's still hard to come from behind and win if you give up 34 points in the final period, and it's just Nick Batum getting wide open shots. The Blazers doubling and then not making the first rotation out of it. The Blazers just getting lost defensively. Some of it was laziness. Some of it was just lack of execution. Some of it was lack of focus. And it all adds up into poor defensive quarters, where when you're playing a solid team, and the Clippers have been playing really solid basketball, they're now 6-4 after starting the season slow, it's really hard to be able to take care of business if you aren't consistently locked in on the defensive end. And sure, Paul George is going to hit some tough shots. They're going to have some good offensive sets that, they're going to score buckets off certain things, but the quality of their shots, the fourth quarter, was phenomenal, and that was due in part to us playing pathetic defense. Nick Batum had a hot game. He was 6 for 8 from 3. He had multiple open threes down the stretch. Shades of Harrison Barnes. And we've let Luke Kennard go off in previous games. Dylan Windler go off in previous games. Harrison Barnes, of course, on opening night. Nick Batum tonight. And it's just a situation where when we play on the road, we lose focus and we lose track of guys, and they're just able to go off against us with wide open threes. And it's not due to the Blazers being incapable, in my opinion. It's due to them not being able to lock in and focus and execute defensively on the road for whatever reason. And I'm going to segue into this point, Eric. It's starting to get to the point where certain guys need to be held accountable minutes-wise when they're not locked in defensively. All right? Tonight, Robert Covington plays 39 minutes on the first night of a back-to-back. 39 freaking minutes on the first night of a back-to-back. Are you kidding me? He was 2 for 8 from the field, 1 for 6 from 3. He had 6 assists. That might be a career high, so good for him. I mean, he made some nice passes and had a nice cut and an and one. But defensively, while he had some moments, there's still a couple times he got lost off Batum there in the fourth quarter, and that could have been due to fatigue because he's playing 39 minutes in this game, and I don't understand that. First night of a back-to-back to play a guy like him who's not even playing super well defensively, 39 minutes just doesn't make sense. When he was switched on to Paul George was able to get by him and kind of get what he wanted. Norman Powell did a much better job one-on-one against Paul George, despite him being much more undersized than Robert Covington. I don't understand it, and it's getting to the point where we got to start holding guys accountable for not being locked in defensively on the road. You know, if Robert Covington comes in and in the first 4 minutes has a play where he just completely loses focus, sub him out. Get him out of there. Sub in Larry Nance Jr. We got a good backup four, all right? And if 3 minutes into his shift, Larry Nance has a mistake, sub him out. Play Nas at some four. I don't know. We just
he did. I think that's what happened tonight.
Well, Robert Covington played 39 minutes and Nance played 9. A few of those minutes were at backup center. But basically, it's just a situation, Eric. This can't be an excuse for much longer.
Yeah.
All right? This has to change. This has to be fixed. And you got to hold players accountable with minutes, and it's frustrating seeing Robert Covington, who has had a lot of lapses early on in this season, play 39 minutes on the first night of a back-to-back. Even if he's playing phenomenal, he shouldn't be playing 39 minutes, but defensively, he wasn't phenomenal. He had some good moments, and he had some moments where he got completely lost, and he still ends up playing a bunch of minutes.
Yeah, I think that's by far the thing that Chauncey has the longest to go on right now, is just having a feel for rotations, knowing when to take guys out, when to put them in, how long of shifts he's leaving guys out for. Because CJ comes out like at the 6 minute mark or something like that in this game, comes back in at around 2 minutes left in the quarter, and then pretty much plays the entire second quarter when he wasn't playing well at all and stuff like that. And that's just, you can't do that. And then, other people like Nurk gets subbed out within like 4 minutes into the game or something. And then, I don't know, it just seems like every time we go to our bench, even though we have decent players on our bench, just we turn into like ugly basketball. And we went through several stretches where we had 3-4 minutes without scoring a field goal, and it really hurt at those times. And then we had some times where we got Paul George into foul trouble. He goes out, and their freaking bench increases the lead and gets open threes. So it wasn't because we were so focused on Paul George that he was killing us. I mean, that, of course, happened throughout this game. But there were times where he wasn't in the game, and we were still having problems giving up open threes, and that's just unacceptable.
Yeah, and people will come to conclusions about this team after every freaking game. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Just, hot
season's
take.
Over.
Yeah, just after every single loss. But, that's, everybody was saying the sky was falling when we were 3-5. Then we beat the Pacers and blow out the Lakers at home. Then we're chilling. We're 5-5. We just needed to stay at 500. And then we lose tonight against the Clippers. And, we're screwed. We suck. Trade everyone. Dame isn't all in. Like, screw Charles Barkley for saying that, because that's just
we got to talk about
crap.
that later.
We'll talk about that later. It's just hot take culture, man, where everybody has to come to a conclusion after every single game, good or bad. Right? Nothing about tonight, for me, provides any conclusions about this team. It literally just reinforces what we've seen all season long, which is that this team is capable. This team is absolutely capable of playing solid defense when they're locked in mentally, when they're focused, when they're executing. And they're capable of executing because all season long at home, they've done so. They've done it. Like, at home, they're probably a top 10 defense. And that's against some solid teams as well. On the road, they're probably the worst defense in the league. You know what I mean? So the floor on the road, we're a really bad team. At home, we're a really good team. I don't see how people can come to conclusions on that this team sucks. It's like, okay, we need to figure out how to play on the road the same way we play at home. And if we can do that, we're an elite team. But the problem is we're so far off. We're so far off. But that's not a conclusion. Mm-hmm. This team is not incapable. And just watching this game, it's like when we'll go on stretches where we look really good defensively. and then we'll give up 13 points in 2 or 3 minutes. You know what I mean? They started off up 13-3 right off the bat. Right off the bat. They were up 13-3 3 minutes into the game. And then over the next 3 minutes, only score 4 points. So it's just it's a game of runs. And
it was like 7 over 6 minutes. Yeah, we were doing really good. And then they go on another run again when we bring in our bench at the end of the quarter. Mm-hmm. Can't finish quarters yet.
Yep, it was, let's see here, 26-20.
Honey.
Oh, there's the ESPN ad. Honey. Oh, my goodness. I'm looking at the play-by-play right now. They always get me with the worst stats. So 26-20 with 2.5 minutes left, Eric. Over the final 2.5 minutes, the Clippers score 13 points. So 13 points in the first 3 minutes, 13 points in the last 2.5 minutes. In the 6.5 minutes in between that, they had 7 points. So that's the thing, is that when they get locked in, when they have good stretches, they play really good defense. And then you'll see them just give up monumental runs and they'll fall apart defensively. And that's what this team is right now.
Yeah, it's so frustrating. Shout out to Hyper Prime for becoming a starter member. Thank you. And Jared for the $2 donation. He says, frustrating one at the end, had to crack a cold one. Yeah, this team is going to drive us all to drink. And then Scott Bossy with Canadian $7 donation says, Norm's defense on PG was low-key really good.
Yeah, do you want to talk about that?
Sure. Yeah, I thought that was one of the things we needed, is because when we played them in LA last time, we did not have Norm in that game. And I feel like he does a really good job of getting up into PG. And now, much like Dame, you can double team him. You can do whatever defense you want. Dame's still going to score in years past, right? Like he's that good. You're never going to completely stop anyone. So no one's going to hold someone for like 0 for 10 from the field as good as Paul George. So he's going to blow by him every once in a while when he plays that type of defense. But I thought for the most part, it was mostly when he got the ball on the move and someone else failed to rotate or help in the correct way, and that let the drive be open and Norm not able to recover. Or in the fourth quarter, we just flat out switching all those picks and getting Dame on Paul George a lot, and that's a tough matchup for Dame. But yeah, I thought Norm's defense was more than adequate on Paul George.
Yeah, and that's the thing is we talk about lack of size, but I thought Norm had better contests than Robert Covington did. I thought Norm had some great shot contests on Paul George. And here's the thing, Paul George can still get those shots off. Even against a Robert Covington, even against big defenders, he's extremely talented. And he can still make insanely tough shots, even if you play great defense. So you just have to do the best job you can and hope that puts you in a more favorable position to shut him down or hold him to a lower point total. And I thought that was the case when Norman Powell was on him. Sure, Paul George got a couple of buckets, but overall, I really like Norman Powell's defense on him. And for everybody saying Norman Powell's too undersized to play the three, I mean, he didn't look too undersized to defend Paul George to me tonight. It's funny how I tweet that out, and then somebody says, oh, well, I guess you missed the play. I guess you missed the play where Paul George drove past Norman Powell. Well, if he drives past Norman Powell, that's not because Norman Powell is short. Right?
Yeah.
Like, you would think like shorter defenders are likely going to be quicker and be able to like hold their own and not get driven by as much on the perimeter. So, I thought despite the size differential, Norman Powell did a really good job defensively tonight.
Yeah, and then Portland 2 Fresh had a $5 donation. It's so infuriating how Rocco gets more minutes when Norm was clearly our best D player tonight. So annoying how they don't get Norm more shots this season too. I want to talk about this too because Norm played fantastic in the first quarter, and especially the first shift he had. Why is he not coming back in with the second unit? He subs out when CJ subs out. Why is he not subbing back in when CJ comes in? Or in some cases, if CJ is struggling, instead of CJ? Because, honestly, CJ had, 3 assists in this game. So, there's no way Norm wouldn't do just as good of a job running the offense as CJ right now, because CJ's he's hunting his own shot. He's shooting his career high field goal attempts per game. Norm was proving that he can get things done off the dribble and make things happen. And I just don't get why we're not using him better or more, and why he sits for so long in the first half. It just makes no sense to me. And then we don't learn a lesson in the second half. Fourth quarter, same thing. We start off slow and lose the game pretty much because of our fourth quarter inabilities with our bench to get anything going for the first few minutes of that quarter.
Yeah. I mean, Chauncey has to get better at managing minutes and managing who should play when, and getting whatever lineup is on the floor to play the right style of basketball, because far too often we'll make a change and that'll kind of change the way we're playing. We gotta maintain the same style of play, and call some sets. Call more sets with the bench unit. If they're getting more stagnant, have more sets that you can put in with the bench unit to utilize a guy like Larry Nance Jr.'s playmaking, like Cody Zeller's playmaking. Like, both those guys can pass the ball at the 4 and 5 spots. You got cutters and Anthony Simons and Nasir Little. And if you run Norm with the bench lineup, he's a good cutter too. And you can run a good motion offense utilizing the passing ability of the big men as well as the cutting ability of the point guard, shooting guard, and small forward, right? And you can spark things off of that, and far too often it just seems like we aren't able to get into sets, or we aren't even calling sets. We're not even running anything. So that's the thing with the bench unit, is you don't have a Dame on the floor too, and that's the thing. Like, it seems like when Dame has good games, CJ kind of struggles a little bit. That's probably just the law of averages, you know what I mean? But today was one of those games. Dame actually had a pretty solid game shooting the ball. Didn't shoot great from 3, but was 7 for 10 inside the arc. So he had it going. CJ didn't really have it going. I thought he had an okay first half and then really struggled the second half. And that's the thing, is when he doesn't have it going, you can't run a stagnant bench offense with him being the only starter in the game, because he's not going to be able to bail it out when he's not hitting shots. So you have to turn to something else. You have to turn to an offense that's able to get Simons going off a cut. I mean, look at Simons with a wide open court in front of him, drive and dunk on I don't even know how to say his name, Zubac. I know how to say his last name. Put a poster on him. Imagine him off cuts, going towards the rim. Maybe a backdoor lob. Same thing with Nasir Little. Nasir Little had 2 good, crafty finishes around defenders today. Run something. Do something with the bench line. It's far too stagnant with them, in that it's like, okay, we're playing with no energy. We have no rhythm on the offensive end, and it almost feels like that will translate to the defensive end too. And it's just everything kind of falls apart.
Yeah, and here's the thing with CJ. This is exactly the way Billups doesn't want to play, right? He said that multiple times. He does not want to play the way we've seen CJ play so far most of this season, right? So why are we doing it? I don't understand. I don't get it. Like, why is Chauncey just allowing this to happen? He continually goes to a unit that needs him to score. We saw a really nice play. Rocco actually cuts, and Zeller finds him on a nice dime going to the hoop for an and one. Our bigs can pass, and we're not utilizing that as much as we need to, and it's really frustrating. Nurk comes back in the fourth quarter. He has 3 good passes in a row that lead to easy baskets for Dame and CJ. It's frustrating watching that happen and seeing how easy the offense could get good shots, and then watching 5 minutes of CJ ISO ball and this is not on CJ, in my opinion. This is on Billups, because he was supposed to come in. He talked about stopping that crap and not having Dame and CJ do this ISO stuff and getting them better shots within the offense instead of relying on that. And until he puts his foot down and tells CJ you're not going to play as many minutes if you continue to do this and don't play within the offense, I'm putting that on Billups right now, and I'm not giving CJ a pass. He needs to be better, of course. It is ultimately CJ's responsibility. But if he can't do what Billups is wanting him to do, that's part of it. Goes back to accountability, because you need to be accountable. And I thought it was great that Chauncey in the fourth quarter went to the starters with Ant instead of CJ, even though Ant wasn't having the greatest game. I still thought that was a good decision, and I felt like we played really good for those next couple minutes. And then CJ comes in again, and we get down 11.
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating because, at some point, see, with Dame, it's different. He's just missing shots. Yes, he took some bad shots. That one in the first half he took with like two people on him with 20 seconds still on the shot clock or something like that. Like that was a bad shot. But for the most part, he's also facilitating at a really high rate, and he's really looking to get other people involved and stuff. And he's doing both. So he's got a good mix, I feel like, of hunting his own shot and also getting others involved in the offense. It's not like super shaded towards one way or the other. And with CJ, he gets some assists, but it feels like they're all after he dribbles and can't get a shot and he has to pass and someone just happens to hit a shot or something. And that's not what I want CJ to do. I want him to run the offense or get his shots within the offense. And we know how good of a catch and shoot shooter he is. He didn't get hardly any of those tonight. And it's just really frustrating.
Some of it's on CJ. There was a play tonight. Like, I can't give CJ as much of a pass because there's a play tonight that stood out to me where Larry Nance Jr., it was out of freelance. It was obviously out of freelance. Larry Nance Jr. tried to set a flare screen for Anthony Simons, and I think Ant might have gotten an open three off of it.
Yeah.
And CJ is just like, kind of like, he might have glanced that way, wasn't even interested. Didn't even seem interested. Wasn't even scanning the floor. It was just like he was kind of looking at his man, maybe glanced that way and just didn't even want to, right? And we saw a play tonight. Nas could have had a fast break alley-oop, and CJ doesn't throw it. Yep. It doesn't even necessarily have to be an alley-oop. Nas was well ahead of the field, and CJ just didn't throw the ball, and that was a mistake. But the half-court play where Larry Nance Jr., he tries to set freelance screens for people, and it was almost like he went to set that flare screen, and then he's like, oh, CJ has the ball. I just got to go set an on-ball screen instead. You know what I mean? Like, that's on CJ because that's in freelance. And if, Chauncey's, which he's talked about how we need to move the ball, we need to make plays. And CJ, just make that pass. And then, I don't know, cut. Pass and screen away. It's just basic offensive stuff that he doesn't do enough of that I'm not saying that Chauncey doesn't deserve part of the blame because he has to hold CJ accountable and he has to call more sets, and if CJ isn't running them or isn't running them right, he has to hold that accountable. So I don't disagree with that, but there's just a lot of situations where CJ could just pass the ball and screen away, and there's enough on the shot clock where if it doesn't work, he'll be able to get the ball back and do, isolate and stuff, and he doesn't. Like, especially in the second half, he just went tunnel vision a bit too much on his own shot. And so I think he deserves part of the blame.
Well, this is why I disagree. Because you and I noticed that, right? So if Billups obviously is seeing the same thing, he's watching film, he's watching the game. So he's seeing this happen as well and is all about accountability. And he doesn't want CJ to play that way. So this is where Billups is facing his toughest or first true test as a coach, when it's your best players or theoretically best players that are the ones not doing what you're trying to emphasize. How much do you hold them accountable versus if it was a Larry Nance who messes up one time and gets yanked out of the game and only plays 9 minutes, So this is a very interesting dynamic going on. And in my opinion, the first time, if you run CJ with the second unit, the first time I see him do that shit and look off, do that crap and look off I apologize, everyone. My bad. Let one slip.
Just pretend like you did it. All this.
But anyways, the first time he does that, and he looks off an open shooter and takes a bad shot, I would bench him immediately, and I would keep doing it until he gets it through his brain. And Billups, that's going to be a tough thing for Billups to do, but until CJ gets that in his head that is not acceptable at those time of the games when we don't need to hunt shots like that. I think we need to send a message that this is not how we want to play, and this is not how we're going to succeed playing in that way. And there'll be times where we need a bucket from CJ, and of course, get him the ball, let him go to work. But for the most part, we need him to run the offense and get his shots within the offense. And I would say the same for Dame for the most part. I think Dame can get really good shots if he plays off ball and runs through the offense, which is what is happening. But the selfishness has to stop. And until the coach dictates that it's unacceptable and holds him accountable for being selfish, I just don't see how he will change or learn his lesson from that, because he continually gets put in the spot where he's running the second unit every single game, no matter if he is hogging the ball or anything like that.
I don't disagree that Chauncey has to hold him accountable, but CJ has to embrace playing a better style play. CJ has to embrace it, and it's there's times where it's like, okay, he's embracing it, he's trying. And then there's times where it's just like, all he cares about is scoring buckets. And that not only applies to playing offense the right way, that also applies to defense. Because there was multiple possessions today where it seemed like he wasn't trying on defense either. And he had some good defensive possessions, but there's a couple times where it's like, dude, this does not look like the same effort he was putting at the start of the season. Because the first 6-7 games of the season, he was actually a good defensive player. You know what I mean? And then people will have the debate like, oh, no, he's destined to be below average. I don't think so. Because when he was embracing the defensive end, in my opinion, he was a good defender. He was a good defensive player. And he was also had his offense going. But that's the problem. Is far too much. It's like if he's not making a high quantity of shots, a high percentage of shots, he doesn't play as hard defensively. He doesn't look for other teammates. He's just like, oh, I got to get my shot going. And that's the only channel in his brain is I need to start scoring the ball. I need to get going because I'm struggling right now. I don't know if that's just me. There might be a correlation there. And the problem is Chauncey can hold him accountable, but CJ also has to hold himself accountable, and he has to embrace trying to be a more complete player when his shot isn't falling. And it's just frustrating because during the first 6-7 games, I thought he was doing that, and he was really, really good. And on the road especially, he hasn't done that.
Well, part of the problem is CJ can make a lot of the shots he takes and did early in the season. So then he feels like he can do that again. It's. I mean, I don't know how to send that message to CJ that it's not okay, because in his mind, he's thinking, oh, the offense isn't doing anything. I need to make a basket here or whatever. And if that's not the way we want to play, there's some sort of disconnect between the coaching staff and CJ. And I don't believe that he's incapable of running an offense. I've seen him do it. I've seen him in games where Dame is not there play completely different. I've seen him at times this year be a willing passer or get good off-ball shots within the structure of an offense. And then I see us just stand around in times and not know what the heck to do, and then he has to save us. So part of that is I don't feel like we're running as much structure with that second unit either. But like I said, if Norm's in the game too, I don't know, we could take advantage so much more of other things. But I just don't like the rotations right now. I don't like the units we're playing. I know Chauncey's trying to do this thing where he plays Zeller for a few minutes at center, and now Nance is like a small ball center for the start of the second and fourth quarter. I don't really know if that's working right now either. I don't know. I want to see different lineups, but I feel like we're mixing them too much. Like Nurk's still always playing with Rocco, and we still haven't seen really Nurk and Nance play it all together.
Nance barely played today in general.
Yeah. I want to see Ant with the starters more versus when CJ comes out, let CJ be the first sub. Let Ant play a few minutes, 4 or 5 minutes with the starters and Nurk and stuff, or maybe even Nance and Ant come in and play with the starters. I just don't get why we have to sub Nurk out so early, and it seems like we just lose any chance we have of being a good structured offense when Nurk goes to the bench right now, and he's barely playing, 23 minutes a game tonight. So I just don't get it. I don't understand the rotations right now. I don't understand Billups just letting these guys go minutes at a time without playing good basketball, and it's frustrating because we've seen them play the way Billups wants them to play, and they look really good, and that's frustrating to me because all these people are saying, oh, this team's washed, they're never going to do anything, the same team that's always, it's the roster, not the coaching, all that stuff would be proven wrong if they didn't do this crap that we've been talking about not doing, and they still keep resorting back to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why I'm frustrated.
It's just frustrating because, like, at some point, I feel like I'm going to come on a stream and just question the mental makeup of multiple guys on this team. Dame has it, right? And certain guys have it. And everybody questions Nurkic mentally, but honestly, compared to some other guys on this team, I don't question him as much as other players on this roster in terms of their mental embrace of playing the right way. Because Nurkic brings it defensively pretty consistently. This year, he's been really, really good defensively. And he's almost become a punching bag, and there's going to be people saying, nah, he's horrible or off, all types of stuff. But I've focused on him defensively this year, and he's been a pretty good defender, and the stats back it up, right? If some of you might care about advanced defensive metrics, some of you may not, but by all means, in terms of advanced metrics, he's been a phenomenal defensive player, and we're much better in terms of outscoring the other team with him on the court than with him on the bench. Right?
You're talking about Nurk?
Yeah, talking about Nurk. And offensively, like, he has some troubles finishing, but, like, he looks to make the right pass. He tries to make the right play, right? Sometimes he doesn't get it done, and it can be frustrating, but overall, like, he tries to play the right style of basketball, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Obviously he's not perfect, but nobody is. There's other guys on this team where it's like, with CJ especially, I want to see him just fully embrace playing a better style of basketball and being committed on the defensive end. And he's capable of being a solid, maybe even above average defensive player. But he has to embrace it consistently. And I'm disheartened by the fact that he was embracing it early on in the season. And then tonight, there was just some plays where he was just like kind of walking around defensively and didn't really seem to care that his guy was able to get open. And when you have your second best player and your guy who's taken the most shots this season doing that defensively, it's not good for the mindset of the team. And that's my frustrations with CJ is like, dude, you embraced it to start the season. You embraced giving it your all defensively and being engaged on that end, and you look great. There's no explanation for him to regress from that commitment. If you're going to be the second best player on a team trying to contend, you got to commit to that. You got to commit to doing more than just being a shot maker, and you have to commit to it consistently. The problem is I haven't seen him commit to it consistently. So that's why I have to hold him accountable for that. That's why I'm frustrated with some of that. So,
yeah, but that's why I want to, I think, making an example of it will, like, if Ant finished the game with the starters and CJ doesn't come back in, that would have been a clear message to CJ. I think that would have, I mean, I don't know if you have to go that far with him to get a message through to him, but you can't say you're going to hold people accountable and then expect them to hold themselves accountable before you hold them accountable, if that makes sense. So first you have to hold them accountable, and then they have to respond and hold themselves accountable. So I'm waiting for the first time where Billups holds CJ accountable for his actions and see how CJ responds. Because if he doesn't respond well to that, then we've got to trade him and we've got to get him out of here at some point in the relatively near future. If he does respond well, then that's great coaching and you fix something that needed to be fixed. So
yeah, it's just...
And that's why I put it on the coaching, because if CJ can be out there doing everything right or everything wrong or somewhere in between, but until the coach stops letting him do whatever he doesn't like, I just don't understand how he's going to just magically not do it anymore unless he just, for some reason, like turns into a completely different player than he has.
What are you doing to your mic? Oh my goodness. What was that? That was sweet. I just at some point the onus has to be on CJ. Like I don't disagree with Chauncey needing to hold certain guys more accountable. And I mean, I started off this stream talking about Rocco playing 39 minutes tonight for whatever reason, despite him not having a good game. CJ at some point, like if you have to almost force your second best player to embrace being a complete player and doing what's best for the team, that's kind of a red flag to me. Like I agree that Chauncey needs to hold him accountable, but it's like, I don't know, man. The fact that it's so hard for CJ to embrace playing the right style of basketball and being fully committed to the defensive end and stuff like that is a red flag to me. And some of it, like, he has to embrace that. Like, Chauncey has to hold him accountable, and CJ has to embrace that. Right now, neither of those things are happening on a consistent enough level, so both of them are to blame, and it needs to change. That's just where I end up.
What I'm saying, though, is obviously CJ's played this way for 8 seasons, right? I mean, the first 2 seasons he didn't really get to play, but limited time he did come in, he was just like this. He's often hunted his own shot. He's often been a liability on defense, stuff like that. But so if you are used to playing that way, you can buy into the system. It's not necessarily that you're not bought in, but if coach just lets you continually play the way you've played for 8 years and there's no repercussions from that, it could be as simple as he doesn't even understand that he's the problem, if that makes sense. In his mind, he just has to make some of those shots that he missed tonight and we're fine, right? Like, he's probably not even thinking that he necessarily is contributing to what's causing this team to have road trouble. That
might explain the offense, but how does that explain the defense?
I mean, I still think the defense is, I mean, it's just a situation where these guys don't know how to rotate properly and they don't know how to help properly still. They're still learning that stuff. I don't know necessarily if that's, there was one time in the first half where CJ just, like, he was standing a couple feet from a three-point shooter. The guy faked. CJ put his hands down and just stood there and watched him shoot a three. Luckily, he missed it. But, like, stuff like that's inexcusable.
That happened, at least 3 times tonight that I saw. So, like, those are the positions. I'm not talking about, like, maybe him missing a rotation. That's an executional thing. Yeah. Obviously, that's a mistake. But that's an executional thing. With him, it's just, like, just give effort. Because that you can completely control. You're going to make mistakes here and there, not recognizing situations properly, but the least you can do is give consistent effort. And I saw at least 3 plays today where it was like, what? He doesn't seem to be trying.
Mm-hmm. Well, see, tonight again, and last game for sure, the first game was a little bit, but we got down by so much, I guess it didn't really even come to fruition. But there's certain players that were seemingly the game planning to let shoot open threes, like an Eric Bledsoe. So I think some of that is, in his mind, he's not supposed to close out because he's like, the game plan is to let those guys shoot threes or whatever, which is dumb. You should still put a hand up and like, you shouldn't just completely abandon it, especially if you're standing right there. But some of that might just be getting mixed up. It's not necessarily an effort thing. You're just trying to follow a game plan in the heat of the moment and not executing it right. But, I mean, I'm not excusing CJ because he's been bad for several years at that. But some of it is, like I said, if you have a bad closeout or a bad rotation or something like that, and you continually are held accountable for those things, once again, like Larry Nance did in the second half of this game, got taken out immediately after he messed up on an inbounds play that led to a wide open lay-in. Like, if you're getting held accountable, that's how you learn not to do that in the future. And so if he's continually making these mistakes on the court, it might not even be registering that he's making the mistakes, if that makes sense. And I mean, I know CJ is a smart guy, but like, and I'm not saying that he has like no responsibility here. He has to be better. But like, I think sending him to the bench and seeing how he responds to that would be a good situation. And the problem is it's not just CJ. We have multiple, like, I can name 5 or 6 guys that do that multiple times in a game, including our best defenders, Robert Covington, and players like that. Norm Powell does it every once in a while. Norm has got to find a way to, like, there was a play where he got knocked over and he just sits on the floor complaining, and PG gets a wide open 3 because of it. There's been like at least one play a game where Norm feels like he got fouled, or he turns the ball over and is mad about something, and he gets lazy and complains, or doesn't get back into the play, and it costs us a possession. Dame does that sometimes too. I don't know if I can necessarily blame just CJ for that, because there's multiple people. I mean, like I said, Robert Covington is supposed to be our best help defender, or best guy at that, and he's one of our worst players so far this year at that. So
I mean, I agree with you on all of that. There's no argument there. It's just, I don't know. The thing is with CJ is it's like it coincides with like him like on offense and defense, and he controls so much of the offense, and that's like part of it in terms of the mindset. Let me thank this $5 donor from Portland Too Fresh. Yeah. He says, I don't know how far we can go in the playoffs when CJ is your second best player. I don't believe we're going to win a chip with him. Trade CJ for better role players. So if we're not good enough with CJ as our second best player, we should downgrade him for role players and have a even worse second best player? That doesn't make sense. For as critical as I'm being with CJ tonight, I don't even want to talk trades until 20 games in. I've said that multiple times, and I'm still holding to that. And then I've never been for downgrading our talent. We need more top-end talent. We don't need to take our second-best player and downgrade him in terms of talent. We have good role players. We don't need a 12-man rotation. So trading CJ for 3 good role players doesn't do anything. You know what I mean? Like, the second best role player you get in a package if you're trading CJ for like 3 guys is probably going to be a Larry Nance Jr. caliber player, and we only played Larry Nance Jr. 9 minutes tonight. So that has never been the answer and won't be the answer. I appreciate the dono. I'm on board with trading CJ, but it has to be at least a similar caliber player at a position that makes more sense, a la a Pascal Siakam, which is still going to be my pipe dream for the trade deadline this year. Appreciate the dono, Portland Too Fresh. Shout out Tobin Erst for a $2 dono. He says, but CJ's wine, though, top shelf. He has good wine game, apparently, according to sources, because I don't drink wine, so I've heard his wine is pretty good, though. Appreciate it, Tobin. Shout out Dro, $2 dono. He says, CJ's taking breaks. Rip City will win tomorrow. Fingers crossed, man. I would love to just win one road game, because we can't win on the road. We can't show up on the road at this point, so hopefully we win tomorrow. Appreciate the $2 dono, Dro. And then Tobin Ernst has another $2 dono. He says, you guys overanalyze CJ sucks and we pay him bank. Well, we break things down in depth here. We really try and go in depth and have in-depth conversations. That's kind of our whole niche. If you want, casual cookie cutter stuff, that's what Dan Meringue is for. But appreciate the $2 dono, Tobin Ernst. All right, let's look at the team stats. Los Angeles wins 117-109, shooting 52% from the field. Eric, not good. 53% from 3, really not good. Also get to the line 6 more times than us. We kept them off the offensive boards, but that's pretty easy to do when they are making more than half their shots. We didn't win the turnover battle. We had 10 turnovers. They had 8, but we're taking care of the ball at least. 5 fast break points. I want us to get out and run more against the Clippers. We've really struggled to do that this season. Outscored them in points in the paint. It really just comes down to they shot better than us. We had 6 more shot attempts. They got to the line a little bit more, made 4 more free throws, but they're shooting 52% from the field and 53% from 3. That's what it is. That's the issue. And when you're letting teams shoot those percentages, it's pretty hard to win.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like we kept them off the offensive glass for the most part. I mean, they did have a couple of putbacks, but nothing that stood out as being like a huge factor in this game. I felt like defensive rebound, I feel like we're fine on that end. Nurk is just a monster on the defensive boards right now. Like, he's getting every defensive board when he's in the game. It's one of the reasons why I want him in the game more often. You look at free throw percentage, 75%. Norm missed 2 at the end. CJ missed 1. early in the game, but like 12 free throws, I mean, that's not good enough. You have to find a way to get to the line. And we had several times where we had them in foul trouble with several minutes left in quarters, and we were unable to show any aggression and get to the line. And that's another frustrating thing about not being aggressive and running good sets, is because that ISO stuff usually leads to someone like CJ, who's not good at drawing fouls, not getting to the line either. And I felt like we didn't do a good job of getting there tonight again. 3-point shooting, man, I felt like we got good shots. 38% is a solid number, but like we had so many open shots, especially in the first half, that I felt like our offense was okay at times, especially early on. When we got down 13-3, I mean, it was mostly our defense. I felt like offensively we were getting good shots. And then, yeah, that Norm 3, when we were down 4, he had an open 3 in the corner off a nice pass from Ant. And fortunately, he didn't make that. But and then the next time down the court is when he missed those 2 free throws. That was a really bad stretch there. Could have gotten us back in the game. And then they, of course, go down and hit threes on the other end, and it's lights out.
Yep. All right, let me get the player slides here because I'm about ready to go into the player slides, but I forgot to put them in here. Eric, check in with chat today. Chat's been kind of on one today.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on chat today?
I don't know. I mean,
I'm putting you in a tough position there, man.
Yeah. I agree with Roman that once we get our first road win, we'll be okay. I just don't. I'm hoping it's going to be tough on a back-to-back when we played heavy minutes tonight, tomorrow night, but Friday we play Houston. So that should be a game we show up for and take care of business, hopefully. I think they're 1-8 or something right now, 1-9. So we need to get that win on Friday at least. And then I said this before the trip, just find a way to get 1 out of the 3 against the Clippers, the Suns, and the Nuggets, and get that Houston game. And that's a 2-2 trip, and I'd be perfectly happy with that. But yeah, definitely need to get 1 of the 2 games remaining against Denver or Phoenix, and it's going to be pretty tough.
Yep, I agree. Shout out to Portland, Too Fresh with a $10 dono. He says, bro, CJ isn't going to get you an all-star type player. He's 30 years old. The best you're going to get is solid role players or Ben. Either that or just continue to get bounced in the first round. Appreciate the $10 dono, Portland, Too Fresh. I mean, for as critical as I am about CJ, when he's the lead guard, he's phenomenal. There's a lot of teams that I think he would make sense for that need a player with his skill set. I mean, he's a dude who's averaged 23 points per game efficiently last year and has the capabilities, in my opinion, to be a good defender, right? It's just he has to embrace it. And it's still too early to say that he won't. That's why I don't like talking trades, because he's only played 11 games under a coach not named Terry Stotts, okay? And Terry Stotts let everything slide defensively, and his whole offense was iso ball. So I'm frustrated with CJ because it seems like his embrace of it has kind of regressed from the start of the season, but the start of the season, he was phenomenal. He was absolutely an all-star caliber player, okay? Now he's missing some shots, and he's had some lapses defensively, in my opinion, the last couple of games. But he's still a really good NBA player. Just because I'm critical of him doesn't mean that I think he's a trash NBA player and you can't get an all-star for him or anything like that, right? I'm just approaching it from, we need to be the best version of ourselves. So if something isn't working or if something's a bit of an issue, I'm going to call it out, right? And hopefully Chauncey's doing the same and holding guys accountable. But there's a lot of teams who'd make sense for, man. And that's the thing. We also have young talent if we have to include, and we can also work our way into trading future firsts. So I'm not sitting here all pessimistic like, oh, the best we're going to get is just trash, so we should just trade him for trash. I don't agree with that sort of thinking.
Yep. And shout out to Let me find. Oh, why can I not? Smokey McSee, who says that he told us that it wasn't the coaching, it was the roster,
Oh
and
God. Oh
he'll
God.
he'll tell us at the end when we lose 46 games. Yeah.
Oh God, bro. See, here's goes back to my original point, and then we'll hop into players. This team at home is far better, far, 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 far better than the team was at any point last year. Right? Our quality of wins, we have more good wins through our first 11 games, despite us being absolutely horrible on the road, than we did last year. We beat Phoenix by 29. We beat Memphis by 20. We beat the same Clippers team at home by 19. We just blew the doors off the Los Angeles Lakers. Of course, they're missing guys and aren't good, but we took care of business against them. At home, we're a very, very good team. So to come to conclusions because of road games about our ceiling is ridiculous, because we've shown our ceiling at home, and our ceiling is high when we play the way we do at home. So we haven't figured out how to play at that level or close to that level on the road. So to take the road game and make statements about our ceiling when they've shown you their ceiling is high at home is just ridiculous to me. All right. So I wasn't going to talk about that guy because he's just trolling in chat, Eric. But that's my whole point is like, yeah, we aren't good on the road right now. That doesn't say anything about how capable we are, because the big reason we're struggling on the road is we're not doing the same things we're doing at home. But we are capable of doing those things. That's why we've seen them in Portland. It's that simple. So screw the conclusions and people saying ridiculous stuff, because just ignore the trolls. I want to talk about this troll, bro.
Yeah. I just want to put something, like, if he's so confident in himself, let's put something on it.
Oh, the 46 games? Oh, yeah. Does he want to pay up?
Well, he just said we're not going to make the playoffs this year. We better apologize to Terry Stotts.
All right, bet.
Dude, bro, first of all, you obviously don't watch the show, because I have said multiple times, if I'm wrong, I will admit it this season. I guarantee you that will happen. Terry Stotts was ass the last couple of years. He was terrible. So don't give me this crap about I need to apologize for Terry. Terry stole money from this franchise the last 2 years. He did absolutely nothing coaching-wise. All right? So it's not an apology to Terry Stotts. It'll be an apology that I thought the roster was better than it was, and I will absolutely admit that. Second of all, this is a playoff team still, and we're going to make the playoffs. And I would like to put something on it if you want. But, of course, you'll disappear if that doesn't happen.
Yeah, he absolutely will disappear. But, yeah, all right. I have a name, bro. Don't refer to me that way. You're just getting hidden for trolling and being an ass. All right, let's talk about players. Start with Dame. Dame Save Us Lillard. First time Chris could break out this nickname today, Eric. 27 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. He was 4 for 13 from 3, whatever, 4-12, 4 for 13. 11 for 23 inside the arc, though. So it was an efficient night from him. We saw him aggravate that ab injury, which sucks to see, especially with a game tomorrow night. Hopefully it's not too much of an issue for him tomorrow. 39 minutes. Too much on the first night of a back-to-back. Without those home blowouts, we'd be playing him like 38 minutes a game right now, which too much. It's too much. This goes back to the whole minutes and rotation situation. I like that he had a good game today. Hit a lot of mid-range jumpers, hit 4 threes. His shot, he's looking more comfortable in, and he was able to get some buckets on the interior, despite him still not getting to the free throw line. Only 1 free throw today. If this was last year, he probably has a 35-point game with 10 free throw attempts. So what were your thoughts on him today?
I thought he was pretty good. I liked when he came back in the game, got some good shots within the offense, and then started shooting long shots again. But overall, once again, 6 turnovers, 6 assists to 2 turnovers. I'd like that to be a little higher, but can't complain about that. I felt like he should have had a little more assists tonight. Fine. I guess we're talking about this is a good game for Dame. I guess that's will be a good thing once he starts, playing like this as his average games. But yeah, I don't think Dame was necessarily any of our top 3 to 5 problems tonight.
Yeah, agree with that. I just put this guy on a ban, so I might as well read off his donation. Tobin Ernst, another $2 donation. CJ, phenomenal. When can we start talking trade? I said 20 games in multiple times this stream. He just called us clowns in chat. Just to let you guys know, if you insult us in chat, it's just an automatic ban, so don't waste your time. Don't be immature or childish. We're talking basketball. Just talk basketball. Come on. I don't know why you donate money to people you think are clowns, but, I mean, go. Good for you, I guess. Back to Dame, though. It's going to be interesting to see how he performs tomorrow, especially with how many minutes he played tonight. Maybe aggravated the abdominal injury, but kind of looks like he's breaking out of the slump that he's been in. So what are your predictions for him tomorrow? Or do you not even want to go there?
Yeah, I think something similar tonight. Maybe hitting a couple more of those threes. I think he's going to have a nice solid game.
Yep, agree. Let's move on to Tony Snell shouldn't be next. I don't know why Tony Snell is next. Let me pull it up in a way. I think that's my fault. It's probably going to be Norm. Let me get it here. Yeah, it's going to be Norm. Norm had a great first half today. Struggled a little bit in the second half. Didn't really get the same opportunities, but I like that he was in attack mode early. Made a couple plays for others. He's been really good offensively lately, really efficient. That's why Chris dubbed him as 50-50-80. Is that his shooting splits on the season? What was he shooting from 3 going into tonight?
I think it was pretty close to 50, yeah.
Yeah, so he's been extremely efficient this year. Had a really good game today. Played well on the defensive end, in my opinion. Was our best defender to put on Paul George. Made some shots. Had a couple nice passes there in the first half. What were your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I really like his aggression. Once again tonight, I felt like he was making really good decisions. I liked his defense for the most part. Yeah, I really like Norm. I feel like he should be... I want to explore more. Get the Nork thing going. They had a nice 2-man game going where Norm hit the and 1-3 off a Nurk assist. I think we could really take some pressure off of Dame and CJ by using Norm better on that as a playmaker, and especially using those pick and rolls with him and Nurk.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, he was phenomenal today on both ends of the floor. He's our best player overall, in my opinion. Dame had a good game, but Norman Powell got it done on both sides of the floor. And he only plays 32 minutes. I don't understand why he only plays 32 minutes tonight. He wasn't in foul trouble, only 2 personal fouls. Doesn't make sense to me. We got to find a way to get him more shots because he's been our most efficient player this season. Chris said he's something like 52, 49, 82 going into this game. That 49% from 3 is going to be like 55% because he was 5 for 6 tonight. Mm-hmm. When we subbed him out, our offense started struggling. Like, you could notice a difference, right?
Yeah.
We have to find a way to get him more shots, though. Like, when he's that efficient, he's not a guy that's going to go grab the ball and dribble it and, like, take over the offense and hijack things, right? So you got to run more sets for him and try and get him more opportunities because he's so efficient in making such good use of every touch he gets in the past few games. So I would like to see them try and maybe create a couple more sets to highlight him and get him going downhill, or maybe get him a 3-point shot and make better use of somebody who's been insanely efficient to start this season.
Yeah, I felt like... once again, when he subbed out in the first quarter, that was a terrible substitution. And that's why I don't want to have certain rotations, like keep the hot guy in. And he was absolutely carrying us in that first quarter. Let him continue to do so until he gets tired. I just want to reward the players who are playing aggressive on both ends of the court. And Norm was definitely doing that tonight.
Yep, agreed. Let's move on and talk about... Oh, no, I got to replace it manually. Up next, we got Jusuf Nurkic, who I also thought had a good game today. 15 points, 13 rebounds. Eric, 6 assists.
Finally.
He made some passes. And it got guys great shots. We need to utilize his playmaking more. He hit a 3 tonight. He played pretty good defensively, in my opinion. This is the Nurkic we need. We need to utilize his playmaking more. We got to utilize Dame and CJ off the ball more and utilize Jusuf Nurkic as a passer. Because Dame got his easiest bucket of the game today, other than the play where the Clippers just had defensive breakdown, which was the play where Dame aggravated that ab injury. Just a backdoor cut and layup at the rim. I think CJ got one of those as well. He got Norm a couple good shots on the perimeter in the first half. The Nork connection was working, Eric, there in the first half. I mean, he's been a phenomenal rebounder and a really good defensive player all year long. It's nice to see him go 5 for 8 inside the arc. Okay, that's 63% inside the arc. He's setting a career high inside the arc. Everybody wants to focus on 1 or 2 layups that he may miss, but overall, he looks a little bit more patient on the roll in terms of his footwork, in terms of slowing down and just making the right play. He had a sidestep today, Eric, that was maybe the most under control Euro step I've ever seen from him. I really like the way
spin move on PG too.
Spin move on PG. I mean, I like the way Jusuf Nurkic is playing right now. That is a positive development over the past couple of games.
And what did I say like 3 or 4 games ago, maybe 5 games ago, about Nurkic and using it the way he's finishing and stuff like that? Do you remember?
I don't remember verbatim. I'd rather let you say it because you know
I
better than me.
said someone who plays a certain way isn't going to just all of a sudden come out at the beginning of the season and be a completely different player and shoot a completely different way and be completely under control and not do flip shots and all this stuff. Like, give Chauncey some time to work on what he thinks needs to be done to make him a better finisher. And so once again, tonight is 5 for 8 inside the arc, which we'll take. I think we need to get him a few more shots. I also think 6 assists this might sound crazy, but this should be like an average game for him, in my opinion, the way we use him. And if some of the people like Norm's one miss from 3 was he got him a wide open 3 in the corner. So as Kyle mentions, plus minus, +6. You like to see that in a game we lose, and a game he only plays 27 minutes. It's like, okay, so why didn't he play more? Why is he coming out when we're doing well with him in the game? Why are we not utilizing him more? It's obvious this team flows better when Nurkic is a playmaker on one end. And Reese had a stat the other day that it's still early, so this will change, undoubtedly. But it was something like in the last 40 years, Nurk is having the type of season that would put him top 20 all-time at defensive Raptor.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you could say what you want about analytical stats or whatever, but that just shows you he's been elite on defense, and I don't understand how people don't see that. The beginning of chat tonight, saw people say how he kept falling asleep on defense or whatever. Most of the time when his man scores, it is not Nurk's fault. And we've even heard Billups say that multiple times. He is very, very good defensively and can take on so much bigger of a role offensively. And I just feel like that's kind of should be our counter to when we're struggling with our guards to get good shots. And it's drastic difference when he goes to the bench, how bad our offense stops flowing and how many mistakes happen on defense when he's not there to cover for them.
Yeah, I agree, man. And I was saying he was getting way too much heat to start this season. It's funny because when he got here, everybody loved him. And now it's like everybody hates him. Well, not everybody, I can't speak for everyone, but there's a lot of people that are just extremely hard on him. I mean, going into tonight's game, the dude was shooting above 60% from 2. His career high is 52.5% from 2. From 0 to 3 feet, let me find this here. If you want to know like where you can find these stats, this is what I use, is basketballreference.com. It's basketball-reference.com. If you just Google Jusuf Nurkic stats, it's one of the first options that come up. From 0 to 3 feet, guess what his percentage is, Eric? Going into, this doesn't include today, just going into this game, guess what his percentage was from 0 to 3 feet?
I'm going to say somewhere around 60.
70.
70, nice.
70%.
Yeah.
So he's been a good finisher this year, man. And it's like, sure, some of his misses are kind of like, you rack your brain like, what was he trying to do? But if he's making 70% at the rim, you take that. Absolutely. Absolutely take that. And people were just, people keep saying stuff that like exposes themselves. Like the dude is still crap at finishing. The dude still sucks at finishing when he's finishing 70% of his layups, which is far above average for any player, even centers. So, and it's not like we have guys that'll throw him lobs. You know what I mean? Like, we don't set him up in necessarily the easiest positions. We love our bounce passes to him instead of just lobbing over the top where he could just get an alley-oop or 2 a game. The dude's finishing 70% of his layups. Like, that's the thing, is some people want to bash him no matter what the facts are, no matter what the evidence is. And it's like, I don't know how you can say the dude sucks at finishing when he's finishing 70% of his layups. Doesn't make sense to me.
Well, it's like he had that one where he tried to go on the opposite side of the rim and he kind of threw it on the bottom of the rim, but he was kind of falling down as he did it. And then everyone's like, see, he still can't finish. It's like, oh, it's one freaking shot. Like, it's so...
Yeah.
I can't stand when he misses a shot. It's like no other setter ever misses a shot ever. It's only Jusuf Nurkic who sucks and can't finish.
I know, man. It's so crazy. Like, yeah, drives me nuts. But I'll continue to call it out, man. There will be the same people saying he still sucks. Whatever. Y'all can ignore the facts if you want. Shout out Near 012 for the $5 dono. He says, people also forget Nurk plays better when Dame is making shots too. It gives him more room to operate. I agree. That's the two-man game that our offense was predicated around last year, and it's still a big staple of our offense. Of course, we need to diversify our offense a little bit more this year, but it's still a big part of the offense. So when Dame is drawing a lot of attention, it's able to get Nurkic going, and the defenses, when Dame is going, defenses will commit 2 defenders to Dame more often on the pick and roll. And that'll open up that bounce pass to Jusuf Nurkic, and they have to rotate to him because 2 guys committed to Dame on the pick and roll. So when another guy rotates to him, that's when Nurkic can either, attack the guy rotating to him and try and finish, which he's been doing well this year, or he can just make the extra pass and hit an open shooter. He did both those things today. And part of it was because Dame was able to make enough shots and kind of open up those opportunities that Jusuf Nurkic made the most of.
And I felt like we got him the ball in a little bit different spots tonight. And he was going, instead of right down the middle, it was more towards the sides of the keys when he was going on the roll. And that allows him to not barrel right into the middle of the defense. And it's a lot easier to kick out to the corners in those situations. And then a few times he would just stop and wait for the like Dame or CJ to come back up and grab the ball, and it resulted in those 2 mid-range shots for Dame that were pretty much wide open. So I just like the way they're starting to maybe use him a little different tonight, and hopefully that'll unlock him in the future.
Yep. Next up, we got CJ McCollum. I'll just show the stats. We talked about him at length. We don't need to talk about him. Chris put in the CJ passed the ball, McCollum. We talked about him at length. So if you missed that part after a stream, go rewind it. We talked about CJ for maybe 30 minutes. So not much more to say unless you have something, Eric.
No, we said everything.
Cool. Awesome. Cody Zeller is our 5th player. Cody, I don't know. This is trivia for you guys, chat. This is becoming a trivia set. Why did Chris put negative 6.0? I don't know. But Cody Zeller, 8 points, 8 rebounds, an assist. Had a really nice pass to a cutting Robert Covington. Robert Covington cut, and Cody Zeller passed him a ball, and it was an and one layup. I love it. I want to see more of it. Cody Zeller missed a 3 with 6 on the shot clock. Questionable whether he should have shot that or not. His form looks good, and the results on free throws and threes throughout his career hasn't been as good as you would think if you just watched his form. So he's 3 for 5 inside the arc, though. Got a couple nice feeds, but we consistently get outscored with him on the court. And I'll make a point about plus minus before I, ask you why that is. Like, plus minus, you can't necessarily just determine how well a player plays based off plus minus, and plus minus is basically, Cody Zeller was a minus 12 tonight. That means when Cody Zeller was on the court, the Clippers outscored the Blazers by 12. And, of course, it's affected by the 4 other guys on the court with you, so you can't just say, oh, he's a minus 12, he sucked tonight. Like, there's so much noise with that. Players can play great and have a negative 10 plus minus because of what the other 4 guys on the floor are doing. But so you just have to take it with a grain of salt and think about the context that goes with it. When it's a situation where Cody Zeller, we consistently get outscored by 10, 11, 12 points in the past few games, when Cody Zeller's on the floor and Cody Zeller's only playing like 12, 13 minutes, that is a trend that makes me think maybe there's an underlying issue there. What do you think about that, Eric?
Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious to me when he comes in, we're not, because we talked about this, like he's not as good as Nurkic, but he can be kind of a poor man's Nurk. You can run some of the same sets you run with Nurkic. And outside of, we still do pick and roll. Obviously, we're going to do pick and roll no matter who our personnel is. But I feel like we're just completely going to a different offense, which is pretty ISO and pick and roll heavy without much off-ball movement when he comes in the game. And it doesn't make a lot of sense to me why we're doing that. And then also, he's been really bad pick and roll defense the last like 5 or 6 games, and it's killing our defense because he's either not coming up to the level like Nurk is, or he is and he's not doing it right. So until that gets cleaned up, he's kind of been more of a liability on defense than he should be, given his how like smart of a defender he normally has been throughout his career.
Yeah, and that's what's weird to me is him and Rocco for their career have been good defensively. At least Cody Zeller good defensively in the pick and roll. Indy's struggling with that right now, so that's where some of the frustration comes in. And that's why I'm not going, for. O'Shea's going to get fired soon, so I kind of can't wait to stop saying his name. But, like, when we have poor defensive outings where Cody Zeller plays bad pick-and-roll defense and Robert Covington plays bad overall defense, I can't sit there and say, oh, this is O'Shea's fault. Because those guys have been good defenders throughout their entire career. Those guys are good defensively. Cody Zeller is good defensively in the pick-and-roll for what we want him to do, which is come play up at the level of the screens. He's been really good doing that. Robert Covington has been a really good defender, especially off-ball throughout his career. So, like, if you're the GM of the team, you bring these guys in, then they start struggling at something they've always been good at. It's like, what are you supposed to do? You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing that is kind of frustrating with how we're playing defense. But it also makes me a little bit more optimistic because it's guys struggling with stuff that they've normally been good at. So it's just like, okay, if they can start figuring things out defensively like they have throughout their career, then we can probably be a good enough road team defensively to win some games.
Yeah, and the things I described are easily fixable. And Zeller's, like I said, smart enough, and he's a good enough health defender to where this shouldn't necessarily be the problem to the extent it is. So I think it should get cleaned up, and his minutes have dropped accordingly ever since he started not being good on defense. So, but it is also kind of funny that people were saying him and Nance were the only reason why our defense was better than last year, yet those guys have been kind of negative on defense. that defensive Raptor stat I was talking about, both of them are negative on defense for the year. So, yeah, it's kind of not been because of them, which is kind of funny that was the analysis going around the Blazer media, that's the only reason why our defense was good, because of those two guys. And unfortunately, it's not. Those guys have not been the greatest on the defensive end the last handful of games or longer.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's move on to Robert. Didn't mean to click on that. Robert No-Go Covington. 6 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. You like to see that. He almost had a 666 stat line. Who knows what the nickname would have been if he had a 666 stat line. 39 freaking minutes. We've already talked about how that's too much, especially on the first night of a back-to-back. He missed that layup late, which is just frustrating. Dude, you're 6'7" with a 7'1" wingspan. It was a good move. You're right. Like, how do you miss that? How do you miss that, man? You're an NBA player. Like, that's so frustrating. That's so frustrating, because when he missed that lane, it's like, yeah, we're done. This is an L. This is another road L. And he didn't shoot the 3 ball well, but he was shooting 43% from 3 going into this game and had a couple big games coming in. So it's like, it comes back to the defense for me. Chat, I want your opinion on this. If Robert Covington was playing defense like he's always played defense coming into this game, and he's also shooting 43% from 3, how would you have described his season? Because that's the thing. If he was playing defense like he's always played defense and shooting 43% from 3, I'd be saying, oh, he's having a really good season. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. It's just kind of weird how much he's struggled on the defensive end and how that has created a negative perception around him. And I don't even agree with the criticism of his defense. We've sat here and criticized him multiple post-game streams so far this year for what he's done on the defensive end, and he has good moments. It's just like he has to consistently be good. That's what we brought him in for. That's his role, and that's what he's always done. So it's inexplicable when he's not doing what he's always done. So it's just interesting how the perception, despite him, in this game he had 6 assists, which I like. He made some nice passes and was shooting 43% from 3 going into this game, but it's like he's become a guy that fans can't stand because of his defense. And honestly, like, I kind of am frustrated with him too, and kind of can't stand him at the moment too because of that.
Yeah. Well, the other frustrating thing to me is, like, he's still having trouble when he's open catching the ball cleanly and going right up with it, and it's allowing the defense to recover. So he's either taking most of his threes contested, or he's passing up opportunities when he should be shooting them. It's kind of, I don't know. He's got to find a way to catch the ball and release it quicker, like he has before.
Is he one of those guys who tries to find the seams?
I think so, because he does this weird thing where he brings it in, like, kind of like a raptor, like a dinosaur. He's like he's got his hands like this, and he kind of pulls the ball before going up. And yeah, I understand why people do that, but, like, yeah, you can't hesitate that long like he's doing. Reese says he's declining. I don't know if he's joking or not, but
I'm not going to come to that conclusion 11 games into the season.
Here's the deal. Decline to me means, like, you're slower, your athleticism isn't what it was. He's never really been super athletic. But, like, to me, it's not like a declining physical way. He's just, like, Batum gets an open 3. It was like the 3rd or 4th play of the game. And Rocco was just standing on the baseline with his back turned, had no idea where his man was, wasn't in a position where he needed to be to help or anything like that, because the ball wasn't even near where he was. And they just kick out to Batum, and he turns around, and by the time he turns around, the shot's already up. Like, that's not declining. That's just not playing good or smart right now. And he got better as the game went along tonight, but just very frustrating to watch someone who should not be the problem on defense. And that's going to be ultimately our downfall if it doesn't get fixed, is we need our bad defenders to be okay at defense, and we need our good defenders to be good. And if our good defenders or any of the two, especially a starter that's supposed to be a good defender like Robert Covington, is down where we're hoping he just has an okay defensive game, that makes it very, very difficult to play a good team defense. So we need everyone on the same page, and we can't be having mistakes. And he seems to have a lot of them. So until that gets cleaned up, it's going to continue to be a problem. You're muted.
Good catch. Romp 2.0, who's a Sixers fan, by the way, so he saw Robert Covington play for his Sixers for multiple years. He says in chat, Rocco has always been inconsistent effort-wise, and most of the time he's not a threat off the dribble. It makes it easier for defenses to guard the team. And that's the thing is, like, when he did get it run off the line, he did a really good job tonight, at least. He doesn't do it, like, this is kind of a rare occurrence, but tonight he did a good job
Put the ball on the floor.
Putting the ball on the floor and, like, making something happen for somebody else. Just making a second guy come to him and then just making the right play. So, I mean, hopefully he can do that more often. We haven't really seen that. He's just been a guy who he'll either catch the ball, or if he'll catch the ball and shoot, or if he doesn't have a shot, he'll catch the ball and just swing it. And that's kind of what he is offensively. We saw a good cut from him tonight. He just needs to be more active offensively instead of just standing there on the three-point line and shooting or passing. But in terms of the inconsistent effort, I mean, maybe it's because the Blazers' defense was so bad last year that it kind of hid maybe some of Robert Covington's inconsistencies, because it was like,
maybe,
oh, this guy's good defensively, and he's the only guy who is having any good games defensively, because obviously Nurkic missed a lot of time, and we were starting Enes Kanter next to him, and we started who were we starting at the 3 to start last year? Why am I blanking on this?
Derrick Jones.
Yeah, Derrick Jones, and yeah, that's right. Because then he lost his starting spot when we got Norm. Yeah, I mean, Derrick Jones Jr. was good, and then his minutes started to dwindle. We played a lot of Gary Trent Jr. at the 3. He was struggling, so it was sort of just a situation where defensively we just struggled so much that maybe it masks some of Robert Covington's inconsistencies, because there were obviously bigger problems on the defensive end, and now that we're really committing to that end, it's starting to rear its ugly head, and it's definitely worse. Like, he's definitely doing a worse job defending off the ball through these first 11 games than he did probably at any point last year. So maybe the inconsistencies are bigger this season. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see if this is a season-long thing, and then maybe we can talk decline. But I'm still 11 games in. I'm hoping he figures things out and kind of bounces back defensively.
I think we can all agree the way he's playing right now, though, there is no way he should be getting 39 minutes. And that's the problem, is whether he's making mistakes or having a great game or what, if he is declining or whatever, like, this guy should not be playing like near the most minutes on our team. And I don't understand why he's being in there for so long. I mean, I understand that like, Chauncey's trying to improve the defense, so he's trying to put our best defender on the floor, but then why is Nurk not playing more? It doesn't make sense. So we have to find a way to somehow balance out these minutes and not have him play this many minutes, especially on a back-to-back situation where he's going to have some tough matchups tomorrow night.
Yep, that was one of the first things I ranted about. Man, I don't want to get into rant mode again with that, but yeah, I absolutely agree. Just ridiculous. I gotta stop clicking on the. I have to switch in the graphics. I keep accidentally clicking on like a black screen. Larry Nance Jr. Larry Starter Nance Jr. 9 minutes tonight, 5 points, 4 rebounds, 2 for 6 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3. Got up 6 shots in his 9 minutes, which is kind of crazy because he's a guy that doesn't really look for a shot. What were your thoughts on him tonight?
Yeah, I don't know.
Only played 9 minutes. Hard to even say anything.
It's hard to know.
It just sucks because he's a really good player. He is as good as Robert Covington, and we bring him in here. We trade a first-round pick for him, and we bring him in here and don't play him enough. It doesn't make sense to me. It is frustrating. I have been frustrated with his usage and his lack of minutes.
Yeah, and I still feel like we should use him in ways that other teams use athletic bigs down around the baseline. He did get one tonight, but it was kind of a bad pass, and he had to come around the rim and then go at the guy in the post. But he still's got to finish some of those. But yeah, I wish we would be more creative with him the way we're using him on both ends. I want to see. I think we might get out of our funk if we use guys like Nance to blitz pick and rolls every once in a while. I don't want to blitz a lot, but 2 to 3 times a game, maybe throw a hard trap or a blitz just out of the blue and kind of surprise a defender, maybe because Nance is really good at that. So I don't know. I feel like he comes in and just runs around a lot, and we're not really sure how to use him yet or what to do. And then, like I said, we tried to use him as a small ball center for several minutes the last couple games, and I don't think that's going terrible, but I also don't feel like we're doing anything to utilize the skills of the players on the court when he is in those situations.
Yeah, we're not utilizing him as a passer. He averaged over 3 assists per game last season. Mm-hmm. We aren't utilizing him as a cutter. He's athletic, and you give him space, he can finish strong at the rim. A lot of his touches inside the paint are, him with a defender on him, and then he shoots a hook shot, right? But when he gets opportunities to cut, I mean, we saw it against Memphis. He's able to make things happen around the rim, and then defensively, I mean, he's a better defender than Robert Covington at this point. I thought they were pretty equal going into the season, and after what I've seen this season, I can come to the conclusion that I think Larry Nance Jr. is a little bit better defensively. So at this point, he should be getting as many minutes as Rocco. Rocco should not have had 30 more minutes than him tonight. Doesn't make sense to me.
Well, especially if we're playing him at center a little bit. How is he not getting more than 9 minutes if we're playing him at 2 different positions? That makes no sense.
I mean, did we even play him at 2 different positions tonight? Because he
maybe not tonight.
Played 22
saying,
minutes,
yeah.
Eric,
yeah.
and Nurkic played 27. So that's 49 minutes. It's a 48-minute game.
Yeah, so I think 50 seconds in one quarter we did.
Yeah. But please tell me why. Tony Snell got 8 minutes tonight. It's frustrating. It's triggering. We need to play him more. Free Larry Nance Jr. Hashtag that. Let's move on and talk about Anthony Simons, who had a poster dunk tonight. Didn't really explode offensively. Only took 7 shots in 23 minutes. Had a couple of assists, 1 for 3 from 3. Just kind of a ho-hum game from Simons by his standards, which have gotten loftier this season.
Yeah, I was waiting for him to dunk on someone. He finally did. So that was cool to see. But, I feel like we're going, once again, kind of like CJ. It's like he's having to create a lot off the dribble, which he's showing he can. But he's not getting as open or clean of looks as he was getting earlier in the season right now, and got to figure out a way to do that.
Yep. Let's finish these up pretty quickly. Up next, we got Nasir Little, who played 16 minutes tonight. 4 points, 2 rebounds, had a couple nice drives, which you like to see. 0 for 1 from the 3-point line. Had a steal and 2 blocks. What were your thoughts on him?
I thought Nas was pretty good tonight. Thought he played decent defense. I thought he had a couple of nice drives. Those were 2 plays in a row or 2 out of 3 possessions. I thought his 3 was a good rhythm 3, so I can't fault him for a miss when it was a good shot. I had no problems with Nas tonight, and I feel like when we're struggling defensively to guard perimeter players, maybe playing him a little more might actually work.
Yep, and then wrapping it up, we got Tony Snell. He hit a 3. That's about all he did today.
Mm-hmm.
I have nothing to say about Tony. I played Snell. I didn't even see the nickname, but that's perfect.
He played. I felt like his defense was okay, but it's another guy who, without a structured offense and just standing around watching, I mean, there's real no point having him on the court because he's not going to create offense himself. So I'd rather Norm get more of those minutes and play that way. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. Anyway, let's go around the NBA. Only 3 scores. Only 3 games today. It was a Tuesday. It's the first Tuesday or Thursday we've played on. My rec league team had a bye today, so that one actually matched up pretty well. We get a bye like once every 4 Tuesdays/Thursdays, so like once every 2 weeks. We play twice a week, so matched up pretty well. TNT game was nice to watch, except for the freaking halftime show. I don't even know if I want to talk about it. You said
I do want to talk about it.
Do you want to just talk about it now?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, so in case you missed it, Charles Barkley said the reason Dame was struggling was because he wants out, basically, and that when you know your team sucks and that they're never going anywhere, it's just kind of a lost situation, and you start to lose confidence in the situation. And so basically he joined he's trying to force his way out crowd, I guess, but then he backtracked on it. I don't know. It was kind of weird.
It was ridiculous. Okay, let me just say this. The reason why I called out Dan Meringue earlier in the show is because he tweeted, Charles Barkley's making a lot of sense. Absolute dog crap. That's why I called him out by name. Because I said I didn't want to talk about him, but bro, if anybody's buying that Dame isn't all in and just lying.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Just like, bro, what? Are we seriously going to do this again? When are people going to learn? Does Charles Barkley not know who Damian Lillard is as a freaking person? Like, that whole halftime show is just ridiculous. It's just...
Look.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say, Eric, so I'll let you talk about it. I don't even know what... Like, it's just absolutely ridiculous.
Honestly, I don't know if this is the opposite of that, but Dame has put immense pressure upon himself to perform, right? Mm-hmm. Because he has said, I can win here. I want to win a championship for Portland. I'm staying. I have 10 toes here, right? All that stuff. Okay, so he can handle this pressure and he'll be fine. But once you have, you start off with an 0 for 8 game, and then the next game doesn't go well, and then the third game doesn't go well. This is a product of him trying too hard to prove those people wrong, in my opinion. And you get put in a situation where you basically called your roster trash and it's not good enough, and then you backtracked on it, which I don't think any of those guys have any ill will towards Dame, so I don't think that's the case at all. But when you basically say you can do it, you can win here, and then you start playing like crap, and then the rest of the team is actually playing somewhat decent. But yeah, it's a situation where he's got all these people constantly well, see, you can't win here. See, nope, you're not getting good shots or whatever, when he's just missing shots that he normally makes. And it just begins to snowball out of control. And I think it's just a thing where he's feeling the heat of how much pressure is on him for speaking up this summer and finally saying something, and for questioning being here and ultimately coming to the conclusion to stay. And so it's really easy for people to just pile on and say, see, you should have left this situation. And I think that's kind of, he wants so badly to prove those people wrong that he's just trying too hard right now. And that combined with the new ball and the injury and all that stuff, it's just, there's so many things going on. But I guarantee 100% I will go to my grave with this, and I am not wrong on this. I will never have to apologize or walk this back because I am not wrong. He is not playing bad because he wants out or he's not all in. That guy is 100% all in and dedicated to the situation. He is not looking elsewhere. He is not looking around saying, man, why did I stay right now? That is not the problem with him at all.
Yeah. Yep. Shout out Near012. Just that's all I'm gonna say is just shout out Near012 for one of the funniest comments I've seen in chat in a while. Let's go around the NBA because I don't have anything else to say. Is there any other part of that you want to touch on? Because like at this point, if you don't get it, you never will. If you don't get it with Dame, you never will.
Well, I mean, honestly, it's to the point now where like if you believe that Dame still wants out, you just like once again, you don't deserve to be a Dame fan. Like, get out of here. Like, I don't want you being a Blazer fan because that's not who Dame is. So that's all I'm gonna say.
Mean, anybody that says that he still wants out is basically saying Dame's just straight up lying out his teeth. Like, in Dame's character isn't as good as as good as it seems. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. If you think he's lying through his teeth, that's an attack on his character. That's an attack on what he's about, man. So that's where that statement comes from. You know, it's just it's frustrating. Like, if you really think like you ain't a fan of his, if you think he's just lying out his teeth.
And look at I agree with Jackson Wagner. He says if anything, Dame's probably mad that he hasn't played better because we'd have 3 or 4 wins right now.
Yeah,
and that's absolutely true. We'd be sitting near the top of the West if Dame was just normal the first 8 games or so.
Hey, and honestly, it's a good thing if Charles Barkley says bad things about the Portland Trailblazers because he's always been completely off in regards to the Portland Trailblazers. So if he swung from predicting us to make the finals the past couple of seasons to like now he says we should blow it up and everything, then that's probably a good thing because the same people that were saying, oh, he's making a lot of sense, were laughing their ass off when he was sitting there predicting us to be in the finals. So there you go. Let's hop around the NBA, Eric. As I said, only 3 games, so this will be a quick segment. Game number 1, Romp joins us in pain. I don't know if he's still here, but we're in pain together, Romp. Tomorrow, only one of me and Gabe will be in pain, so we'll see how that goes on that stream tomorrow. Maybe I'll be able to join. That'll be cool to get the crew together. Andre Drummond subbing in for Joel Embiid, who didn't play today. Also, they were without Tobias Harris, so this was basically the same Philadelphia 76ers team that the Blazers inexplicably lost to. Milwaukee beats the Sixers 118-109. Giannis Antetokounmpo has a good game. Grayson Allen has 25, so Grayson Allen was their second leading scorer. The Bucks finally got Drew Holiday back. He's missed some time, but still are without Chris Middleton. 19 from Bobby Portis, who got the start for Brook Lopez, who's also missed some time. For the Sixers, Tyrese Maxey has a 30-point effort. Andre Drummond had 17 points, 20 boards, 3 assists. Shake Milton had 20. George Niang had 21 off the bench. The Sixers were actually winning after 3 quarters. They were up 2. So the Sixers bench squad has actually played pretty well in the absence of some of their better players.
Yeah, this was a back-and-forth game until the Bucks pulled away fourth quarter. But it was a pretty entertaining game up until then.
Yeah, so 2 entertaining TNT games tonight. The Jazz beat the Hawks 110-98. This was the one non-nationally televised game. For the Jazz, they were led by Donovan Mitchell, who had 27. Clarkson, Bogdanovich, Royce O'Neal, and Mike Conley were all in double figures. For the Hawks, they had 28 from Kevin Huerter on 11 for 18, shooting 6 for 9 from 3, 27 from Trae Young, 16 off the bench from Cam Reddish, who's having a very solid season, but overall could not get it done. The Hawks now are 4-8. We'll look at the standings in a second. And then, of course, you had the Blazers losing to the Los Angeles Clippers. Let's look at some notable performances. As I said, Giannis had a great game. Tyrese Maxey matched his scoring output. Andre Drummond with 20 rebounds is the first stat. That's probably the only time this year 20 rebounds will be the first stat on this graphic. Part of that is only having 3 games tonight. Kevin Huerter had a nice game, and then Chris definitely had to throw in Norman Powell in there instead of Damian Lillard. Maybe a bit questionable, but I'll let it slide because it's Chris, and he is the fan base's #1 Norman Powell fan.
Or, yeah, anyone from the Clippers. So.
Or anyone from the Clippers. How much did Paul George have tonight?
Yeah, 24, 9, and 7.
Yeah.
On 10 or 24, so not.
Hey, Chris embraces the Norm fandom. He is proud with his Norman Powell fanhood.
Freaking Nick Batum.
Freaking Nick Batum, man.
6 of 8 on threes. Get out of here with that crap.
Well, when you leave them wide open consistently, that's what's going to happen.
He hit ones not wide open, too.
Yeah, but, I mean, That's the thing, is when the guy gets going, the last thing you do is leave him open. So, Nick Batum, of course, had a good game today as well. Portland's back down in 10th, but they're 5-6, Krish. So they are tied with Sacramento. You messed up, Krish. You messed up our record. Come on, man. Everything's still pretty bunched up. You got 10 teams, at least 5-6, and then those bottom 5 teams, I think, are going to be the last 5 teams. The 5 teams that don't make the play-in. Minnesota has some hype going into this year, but they haven't looked too good. I didn't buy the hype. Sacramento, I thought, was a little bit underrated going into this season. I mean, right now we are 2 games back of Phoenix, who we play tomorrow. And Phoenix is in 4th place. So some of these teams have had really easy schedules. Dallas is one of them. Portland has had one of the harder schedules in the league. We've gotten some injury luck, you might be able to call it, with catching teams without some of their better players. That'll continue tomorrow. Phoenix will be without DeAndre Ayton. But all that means is that all our easy games against teams like OKC, who we haven't played this year. We haven't played Minnesota. We haven't played San Antonio. We haven't played Houston. That's coming up after Phoenix. We haven't played New Orleans. We haven't played Orlando or Detroit from the Eastern Conference. We have a lot of games against some bottom feeders. That's why I said we just need to maintain 500. Right now we're at 5-6. We beat the Suns tomorrow. We're at 6-6 going into Houston. We're in an okay position, especially given how bad some things are for some fans who think the sky is falling right now. Yup. Eastern Conference standings: Miami at 7-3, Chicago at 7-3, Washington at 7-3, Philadelphia 8-4. You got 7 teams, Eric, within half a game in the Eastern Conference. So, and Milwaukee's outside of the top 8 right now. So it's an interesting standings picture right now. The 2 conference finalists are at 9th and 13th. That's, of course, Milwaukee and Atlanta. The Hawks losing today go to 4-8. So interesting picture here.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of room for teams to either that are on hot starts to fall back, or teams that are gotten up to slow starts still have a chance to get back in it despite not playing well so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's only 11 games into an 82-game season. It's a marathon, not a sprint. We're just getting started. Let's look at the Blazers' upcoming 5 games. Of course, we got the Suns tomorrow, second half of back-to-back. We then have the Houston Rockets, all right? Just we want to beat the Suns for sure, especially considering they're without DeAndre Ayton, but at least just beat the Houston freaking Rockets. If we don't have our first road win by 7:30 p.m. on November 12th, it's going to be some frustration, man.
Yeah.
And then we get the Nuggets. Nikola Jokic is suspended for only 1 game, so he'll be back off suspension for that November 14th matchup. And then we go home, second half of back-to-back for Toronto. I will likely be at that game, so that'll be a little later start time for the post-game show. And then the 17th against a Bulls team that has looked pretty good this season. That's the thing, is Toronto's been solid, and they'll have Pascal Siakam back. Maybe that'll be not... Hopefully, I don't know, man. Hopefully that's not Pascal Siakam's only game in Portland this year. That's all I'm going to say. But that's a solid Raptors team. And then the Bulls at 7-3 are a good team. But Portland has been really good at home. So you got to take care of business on this road trip. Got to try and get 2 of the next 3 games at least, with one of them a game that should be automatic with the Houston Rockets. Of course, you'll get your first look at second overall pick Jalen Green going against the Blazers in that one. Anything about the schedule, Eric?
No, just we have 6 back-to-backs this month and 16 games in 30 days. So a lot of tough back-to-backs. And tomorrow night's the first of, or not the first, but another really tough one. But that would be a really good win if we're able to somehow pull it off.
Yep, I agree with that. Alrighty, so we'll have another post-game stream tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll also, at least I will, Eric, possibly, is that the best way to phrase it? Possibly will be on the Valley Podcast play-by-play stream?
Yes.
All right, so they've had some good numbers lately, supposedly. So they're starting to take off, which is good. Good friends of ours. They cover the Phoenix Suns. I want to go to the Suns' second game in Portland, so I might not be on the play-by-play stream for that. But they do a play-by-play stream for every Phoenix Suns game. So when they play the Blazers, it's always a lot of fun. So I will plug their channel link in the chat so you guys can go subscribe to them so that you don't miss our play-by-play stream for tomorrow, collaborating with Valley Pod. You can also follow me and Eric in the channel on Twitter. Those Twitter handles are in the description, and we will tweet out when we're hopping on there. Alrighty, anything else for this post-game show, Eric?
Well, Dame called out the refs in his post-game press conference. Not sure what Billups said, though.
Yeah, I mean, the refs have not been on Dame's side. That's all I'm going to say. They have not been on Dame's side. I'm going to listen to these press conferences right after the stream, and I'll tweet my thoughts on any of them. I'm curious to hear what Dame said. Anything else in terms of analysis for this one?
No analysis. Just want to say thank you to everyone for watching, and for those of you in the chat that got timeouts or maybe even hidden tonight, just know that we can't have people in chat disrupting or repeating the same thing over and over or calling names to anyone, things like that. And there was a reason for doing so. If you feel unjustly banned, you can always message me on Twitter. But for the most part, we feel pretty strongly if we have to resort to that. So look inward if you have a problem with what happened.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, anybody who gets banned, like, it's not like they're getting banned for nothing. You insult us, you call us clowns, you're getting banned. It's that simple. Like, this is just how things work here. And if you're spamming the same thing in chat and disrupting chat and, you know, you get warned and then keep doing it, I mean, I don't know. I like to keep chat good for the majority of people that tune into our post-game shows. And I feel like there's a lot of really good commenters that haven't been commenting as much lately because after, at least in losses, because after every loss is a situation where we get a bunch of people that kind of just take things off the rails in terms of chat and discussion and whatnot. I don't say a lot about chat, but I do read a lot of your guys' stuff on a night like tonight where there's just a bunch of garbage in it. It's just like, I don't even really want to read chat, and I don't like that being a thing. I want to be able to read chat and enjoy reading what you guys have to say, and lately there's been too many trolls, too many people just kind of disrupting that, so, you know, it's not a democracy in terms of banning people. You know what I mean? Like, we run this channel as a democracy, except when it comes to banning people, but we try and be fair. If you insult us or insult other people consistently or just cause a bunch of chaos in chat, we're just going to hide your comments. And you can take that to Twitter because that's what Twitter's for. That's what Twitter's for. Or maybe go to Reddit or something. I don't know. There's other places to go and have some dramatic discussion about how the world is about to collapse on the Portland Trail Blazers and all that type of stuff. So, yeah.
And if anyone's interested in hearing our thoughts on the Neil Olshey situation, I just posted a link to our Blazers Uprise live show yesterday. After picks against the spread, we talked about that for about half an hour, so check that out if you are interested in our comments about that.
Yeah, and if you don't know what Blazers Uprise Live is, we do streams Mondays and Thursdays going live around 3:30 p.m. Pacific time. We do a picks against the spread segment, which is a ton of fun. So that's a good sneak peek as to what we do on Mondays and Thursdays. Alrighty, Eric, I'm ready to bounce. What's your final words?
See you guys tomorrow night, hopefully after a win.
Should just said bye. What's your final words, Eric? Bye, peace. I wouldn't have blamed you one bit. Yeah, I mean, this every road game has been brutal. So hopefully tomorrow is different. If not, then you guys can see our sorrow in real time on the Valley Podcast. So that's a wrap for tonight. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Tuesday night. Quick turnaround tomorrow. Hopefully the bad taste in our mouths tonight gets replaced by a good taste tomorrow night. This just got really sus, so I'm going to end the stream here. Have a good rest of your night. Until next time, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.